Hello, dear friends. Economy is the most obvious manifestation of a system. Opinion piece. Phoenician Economy. Origin of usury. It began in Babylon, charging excessive interest. Greed, a new form of religion. Phoenicians were the pioneers. Excessive desire for material goods. Let's start. The Phoenician banking system has had its beginning in Babylon, where the idolatry of money and concepts of interest and usury began according to Anna-born rights. The bankers who profited greatly from usury began to grease the palms of church leaders, politicians, high-ranking bureaucrats, and tax administrators, and the influence of usury had done its work within a century, between 1700 and 1800. A complex network of commodity manipulation, sovereign debt, public debt, stock exchanges, clearing houses, insurance companies, tax and tariff systems was set in motion, all in the service of usury. The old Phoenician banking system was set up and all ready to go by the 1820s and by 1840, when Prince Albert of Saxony married Queen Victoria. All the bits and pieces were in place except one: the emancipation of living human beings as persons, that is, as personal corporations. Pioneers. The Phoenicians were pioneers in developing financial and commercial practices that laid the groundwork of the modern banking system. Although they didn't have formal banks as we know them today, they applied innovative methods to facilitate trade and economic transactions. Phoenician merchants made loans of goods, especially grain, to farmers and other merchants. This was an early form of commercial credit that allowed them to finance operations and expand trade. The Phoenicians used a variety of methods of exchange to conduct transactions: bartering of goods, the systems of securities and credit, buying and selling with prices and quantities fixed by prior agreement, and the exchange of gifts as a way of initiating commercial relations. The Phoenician financial system, although rudimentary compared to modern standards, was crucial to the development of international trade and laid the groundwork for many banking practices that evolved in the following centuries. Although they did not mint coins, the Phoenicians developed a system of arbitrary written values and credit agreements. This allowed them to carry out complex transactions without the need for physical currency. Curiously, their lucrative trade was late to join the monetary system, which extended across the Mediterranean from the 8th century BC. This proves the solidity of their commercial circuits, but also that many of their clients belonged to uncivilized regions that had not yet incorporated the monetized system. Greed. Greed, a new form of religion. In modern society, the search for wealth and status has replaced the search for spiritual meaning. For many human beings, the search of wealth and material goods has acquired great importance in their lives, comparable to a traditional religion. Greed is presented as something that can dominate a person's life in a way similar to a religion, influencing their decisions, values, and behavior. Greed is described as an inordinate desire of excessive eagerness to possess wealth and material goods beyond what is necessary. This suggests that it has become an obsession for many people. Some texts compare agree to a form of worship, where money and material goods become the new god to be worshipped. For example, it is mentioned that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Usury. Usury, understood as the charging of excess interest or loans, has a very ancient origins that dates back to the first civilizations. The oldest mention of usury is found in Indian texts from the middle of the second millennium BC, such as the Rig Veda. Usury has been a controversial practice throughout history, oscillating between total provision and regulation depending on the time and culture. The practice of usury already existed in civilizations such as ancient Greece, Rome, and among the Assyrian and Babylonian peoples. Unlike Rome, in Greece, the charging of interest developed more freely, reaching rates of between 10 and 36%. In Rome, the charging of interest was initially permitted, but laws were later established to limit it due to abuses, but fraudulent practices arose to evade these restrictions. The three main Abrahamic religions, the Catholic Church, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, have all had very strict positions against usury historically. The Catholic Church held a strong position to charging interest, considering it usury. However, this stance was relaxed over time. Origin of money. Long ago, human beings exchanged goods with each other freely, without strings or restrictions. This easy system did not satisfy the duck because it couldn't control humanity. It came up with a monetary system to oppress human beings. You cannot have money unless you have earned it by performing some kind of service or working for someone, according to Sananda through Elena Velázquez. The only reason for the existence of money was created to control everyone. The duck had no intention of making anyone happy, only dictating what can be done with the restrictions. Select individuals are given an infinite amount of funds. Then they then follow the orders of the duck. These people appear out of nowhere, and what you see is that they have an infinite amount of money and power. Furthermore, they pretend to be the good guys who care about humans. Their missions are usually to deceive and distract humanity from advancing and evolving to higher frequencies. They never care about anyone and only follow the orders of evil. In the meantime, they try to fulfill their tasks by destroying the environment around them without you knowing about it. Their main goal is to continue accumulating wealth from the human population. You were born into this body and you are supposed to have everything you need for free, and you should not have to pay for anything. Instead, you earn the right to live working most of your life for pennies compared to those chosen by the duck. Their financial system is going to collapse because it is based on greed and suffering, despite all attempts to save it. Your life should not be based on paying for every single thing, because that superficial system does not exist in higher dimensions. Only low frequencies allow such an abstract commodity to function. Some humans, in order to survive, stopped living honest lives and started stealing or even killing just to get their hands on money. Money, in their reality, represents evil and nothing more. If you count how many children and adults left their physical bodies because they were poor and did not have enough money to eat. Human society has been kept at a low and slow stage of advancement so as not to allow you to progress enough into the fifth dimension or higher. The first electric cars were invented in the 1830s, and they were safer and non-toxic to your body compared to the electric cars that are there now. Progress is achieved when an entire civilization benefits and not just a small group who takes the wealth of humankind and poisons everyone with their primitive inventions. Most of their advanced inventions were never allowed to be introduced. They do not want humanity to be happy and live a healthy life. Divinity is going to dissolve this 3D matrix and the negative entities. It's not only a matter of time before this financial system collapses, and the attempt to move it from cash to digital currency is not going to work in the long term. Nothing can stop the disappearance of darkness. Opinion. Puffner said, "We can assure you that the funds are waiting under the auspices and shadows of a fortress that is protecting all the funds that were allocated to others years ago. Moreover, time is running out, and the needs are even more acute now than back then. We recognize that this problem is quite serious for many. They are not going to have it easy. The good times and happy days will not be so evident for a while. Leaving that aside, we see that the controlled and the ironclad belief that these funds can be redirected to other illicit uses is loosening. It is not so because that effort has been blocked. What you need now is to have faith in yourselves and be willing to read and investigate the truth that is leaking everywhere. The truth that you have all been slaves to the money kings. Some have had more freedom than others. Making the right decisions has never been more important than now. Let's put the freedom lovers on the right keyboards and do whatever it takes to wake up a giant, gentle population that is willing to believe the media narrative and not investigate for themselves. None of this is good, and it has taken a long time to get to this period to take a more keen look at what is happening. Economy. Banks' stock rise on Fed rate cut. Wall Street rises sharply and marks new historical highs. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 reach an all-time high, but there are doubts about the labor market. Mortgage rates approach 6% in the US after the rate cut. Gold hovers near recording highs above $2,600 on rate cuts and the awakening dollar. Analysts expect it to rise further. Bitcoin soars to $63,200. Banks are softening the impact on falling rates. Volatility is coming as election season heats up. Banks will offset lower rates with more credit and fees and lower costs. According to CGI's Morgan, the Chinese economy is collapsing. Similar things are happening all over Asia, but in China, they are happening at an extreme speed. This is due to the one-child policy introduced more than 40 years ago to boost productivity. That policy may have ended, but the population is shrinking, the workforce is retiring, and China is in trouble. Europe. Brussels warns against a trade war with China. Fed's aggressiveness put pressure on the ECB to pick up the pace with a cascade of rate cuts across Europe. Germany is going through difficult waters and could be in recession, says the Bundesbank. The Bank of England pauses rate cuts and highlights a gradual approach. European stocks close higher than the Bank of England hold rates. Italy stops financing a battery factory for electric cars due to low demand. The European Parliament recognizes Edmundo González as President of Venezuela. Spain. The Spanish government denies having mediated between Edmundo González and Maduro. The IBEX 35 rises by 0.8% and touches 11,800 points after the Fed's rate cut. Housing is at its highest price in 15 years after rising 5.7% so far in 2024. Spain drops 2 places in the 2024 World Talent Ranking. Mahmoud Abbas calls for a Middle East peace conference in Madrid. Americas in plural. Mexico increases its tax collection efficiency by 190%. López Obrador blames the US for violence in Sinaloa for the arrest of El Mayo Zambada. Argentina's economy hits rock bottom as GDP falls 1.7% in the second quarter. Milei presents his 2025 budget. He foresees inflation of 18% and a dollar at 1,207 pesos. Argentina repudiates the arrest warrant against Milei issued in Venezuela. The Argentine justice detains a former Secretary of Security for the repression that occurred 23 years ago. Forest fires in the Amazon caused havoc in Brazil and Peru. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.